In 1692, the small town of Salem, Massachusetts was engulfed in one of the most infamous witch hunts in history. Over 200 people were accused of practicing witchcraft, and 20 were executed. But what was the real cause of the Salem Witch Trials? Was it mass hysteria, religious extremism, or something far more sinister? Let's unravel this mystery together. And if you're a fan of historical videos like this, click that subscribe button to keep up with our future releases. The Salem Witch Trials began in January 1692, when two young girls, Betty Paris and Abigail Williams, began exhibiting strange behaviors, fits, contortions, and screaming out in pain. Soon, more girls joined in, claiming they were being tormented by invisible forces. The Puritan community, already steeped in religious belief and fear of the supernatural, quickly pointed the finger at witches. But why? Why would a small town so easily turn on itself, accusing its own members of consorting with the devil? To understand, we need to look deeper into the complex web of social, political, and environmental factors that created the perfect storm for this tragic episode in history. Salem in the late 17th century was a Puritan society, deeply religious and fearful of anything that threatened their strict worldview. The Puritans believed they were a chosen people, living in a dangerous wilderness where the devil lurked around every corner. In their eyes, witches were agents of Satan, sent to destroy their godly community. This fear wasn't new. Throughout Europe and the American colonies, witch hunts had been happening for centuries. But Salem's trials became notorious because of the sheer intensity of the accusations, which seemed to explode out of nowhere. Beneath the religious fervor was another layer: deep social tensions. Salem was divided into two factions: Salem Village, which was poor and agricultural, and Salem Town, a wealthier, more progressive port. The village's minister, Reverend Samuel Parris, was a controversial figure, and his strict leadership created friction within the community. Many of the accusers came from the village, while those accused often came from the town or were more prosperous members of the community. Some historians suggest that the trials were a way for villagers to vent their frustrations and target wealthier neighbors in a time of economic hardship. In a society already on edge, with land disputes, religious quarrels, and a rigid social hierarchy, the idea of witchcraft offered a convenient explanation for the town's troubles and gave the accusers a way to settle scores. And then, there's the theory of mass hysteria, or even a medical explanation. Some scientists believe that ergot poisoning, a fungus that grows on rye, may have been a factor. Ergot can produce hallucinations, convulsions, and paranoia, the very symptoms described by the afflicted girls. While this theory is intriguing, it has its limitations. Not everyone in Salem exhibited symptoms, and it doesn't fully explain the widespread paranoia that followed. But it does raise the possibility that physical factors, like tainted food or illness, could have played a role in the initial panic. But the environment outside Salem's borders was equally chaotic. New England was in the midst of King William's War, a violent conflict between English settlers and French and Native American forces. Many of Salem's inhabitants were refugees from frontier towns, traumatized by attacks and fearful of the ongoing violence. This constant state of fear and insecurity made the people of Salem particularly vulnerable to the idea of a hidden enemy, witches. In their minds, the devil wasn't just a spiritual threat, it was an active force working against them through sorcery. By the time the trials began, the panic had reached its peak. Spectral evidence claims that the spirit or specter of a witch had appeared to someone was allowed in court, despite being impossible to prove. Anyone could be accused, and once suspicion set in, it was nearly impossible to escape it. The most tragic part, many of the accused were innocent victims caught in a wave of hysteria. Tituba, a slave from the West Indies, was one of the first to be accused and confessed under pressure, only to later recant her confession. Others, like the elderly Rebecca Nurse, were beloved members of the community, but still found guilty of witchcraft. In the end, 20 people were executed, 200 more were accused, and the town of Salem would forever be haunted by the memory of these trials. But what caused this tragic chapter in history? Was it fear, social tension, mass hysteria, or something even deeper? The truth is, the real cause of the Salem Witch Trials was likely a combination of all these factors: religious fanaticism, political instability, social divisions, and perhaps even environmental conditions. It was a perfect storm of fear and suspicion in a world where the line between the natural and supernatural was blurred. The Salem Witch Trials reminds us of the dangers of mass hysteria, scapegoating, and unchecked fear. What began as a few strange fits turned into a nightmare that cost many innocent lives. So, what do you think? Were the Salem Witch Trials caused by simple paranoia? Or were darker forces at play? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more dives into history's greatest mysteries. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and never stop seeking the truth. Thank you for watching.